On February 8th, 2023, we were blessed with a Nintendo Direct. We got a full reveal of Pikmin 4, a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of cool third-party stuff, etc. But there was one thing that absolutely nobody saw coming, and in my opinion, it was the highlight of the show. We got a reveal for Metroid Prime Remastered, releasing shortly after the presentation. I really wish I would have recorded my reaction of the Direct, because as I'm sure you can imagine, I freaked out. The way the voiceover guy slowly built up to the release date, to then announce it would be out the same day gave me a rush I rarely feel while watching Nintendo Directs. Although I'm more of a fan of Prime 2, the original Metroid Prime is still up there as one of my favorite games of all time. The new visuals looked incredible, but yet still captured the feel of the original game. It's playable on a handheld console for the very first time, and there are new control options? And to top it off, they're giving us all of this for only $40? Needless to say, I picked up the game digitally immediately after the Direct, and I will be buying the physical version as well. It didn't matter to me that I had played Prime at least 3 times in the past 6 months. I needed this game. Fast forward to now, and I've completed the game. I originally wasn't going to make a dedicated video on the remaster, but enough people have asked me about my thoughts on the game that I figured it's worth it. Besides, I wanted to take my time playing through it to really soak it all in. This video will just simply be discussing the changes in the remaster, so if you'd like to watch a full retrospective on the game, go check out my other video. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Metroid Prime remains to this day one of the best rated games of all time. It adopted the 2D Metroid formula into a 3D plane beautifully, and its distinct areas are some of the best I've had the pleasure of exploring in any video game I've played. With Metroid Prime 4 hopefully just around the corner, and the original game recently celebrating its 20th anniversary, it makes sense to bring the game over to the current platform. The biggest change made in the remaster is obviously the presentation. Every asset has been tweaked to fit better into the modern era, and in some cases, we've even gotten more polygons. Samus'S model is less jagged than that of the original game, which is a big improvement. From the moment you enter the space frigate, it's incredibly apparent how much work was done. The new lighting emphasizes the darker, moodier atmosphere that the original was going for better than ever. The remaster just straight up looks like a new game, it's insane. When I first landed on Talon 4, I stopped for a few minutes just to soak it all in. The colors are richer than ever, the textures are alive with detail, and that signature Metroid atmosphere is still intact. They spent so much time honing in on the little details here too. For example, the raindrops on Talon Overworld will run down Samus'S arm cannon when you look up, which is a really nice touch. Chozo Ruins was yet another area that took my breath away when I first entered. Once again, the lighting and texture work are superb. There's so much more life to these areas, and it made them a treat to explore. Somehow, Retro managed to recapture the feeling of playing the original Metroid Prime for the first time all over again in the modern era. Now, there have been some criticism levied against some of the visual changes in this remaster. The biggest one I've seen has to be in regard to the doors. It all started when one of the original Metroid Prime developers tweeted that his door design was messed up in the remaster. I understand the frustration here, and if I was in his position, I'd probably feel similarly, but to me the new design is clearly superior. The color that indicates which beam can open and occupies much more space in the remaster, instead of just being delegated to the border of the door. For me, this makes it much easier to distinguish from the others, and I generally just find the new design to be smoother on the eyes. The one issue I did have though was the darker lighting in places like Phendrana Drifts and Chozo Ruins. It's entirely possible that it could have been my TV setup, but I also did play the game in handheld for quite a while. Either way, I occasionally had issues with seeing where I was going because of how dark it got. It's by no means a deal breaker, but it would have been nice to have some kind of brightness slider or something. There's not any way to adjust the brightness to my knowledge, which sucks. The second biggest change that this remaster makes is adding a ton of different control options. We've got dual sticks, which is more in line with a modern FPS, pointer controls akin to the Wii version, classic mode which emulates the GameCube controls, and a hybrid mode, combining aspects of pointer and classic. I tried all of them, and the dual stick option felt the best to me. Having played Prime with both the GameCube controls and the Wii controls prior to this remaster, I can say that dual sticks is easily the best official control method we've gotten so far. Prime Hack is great and all, but this remaster might honestly replace it for me, despite the superior controls. The dual stick layout isn't perfect. There is some awkwardness when it comes to shooting super missiles, but it's manageable. In this layout, you've got the option to shoot with either the right trigger or the A button, but it's exponentially more optimal to shoot using the trigger. The problem is, missiles can only be fired using the right bumper, so you've either got to remember to charge the beam with A, or move your hand to be able to press the bumper while still holding the trigger. Regardless, this method is great for both docked and handheld play. For docked, I'd recommend either dual stick or pointer controls. Speaking of the charge beam, whenever you go to charge up a shot, you'll now shoot a few burst shots before beginning to charge the beam. I'm not exactly sure why this change was made, but I've seen quite a few people expressing negative feelings about it. I can certainly sympathize with those who find it annoying, but it didn't really bother me during my playthrough. Apparently shooting with the trigger shoots out 3 shots, but shooting with the A button shoots 1, which is a bit odd. This is another thing that I think would have benefited from having an option in the menu to appease everybody. Some more minor changes include more difficulty options and a new gallery. The difficulty thing is nice, because the GameCube version and the Wii version actually operated on different difficulty modes, and in the remaster you can pick between them upon starting a save. I did my playthrough on normal difficulty, which is based on the GameCube version, which I felt was perfect. Like the previous versions, you can also unlock the hard difficulty after beating the game. Normal mode is more my cup of tea, as the hard mode artificially stretches out boss fights, but more modes is always a good thing no matter what. The gallery can be viewed on the title screen, and it's packed to the brim with stuff to check out. Throughout the game, you can unlock new things to look at, like character models, concept art, and you can even just listen to the game's soundtrack. I really loved looking at all the new concept art, it was just stunning. Definitely a worthwhile addition to the package for hardcore fans. The remaster doesn't really do anything to fix any of the issues with the original game, which I suppose is alright. At that point, you're not really remastering Metroid Prime. The problems that many had with it, myself included, were fundamental aspects of its map layout and progression path. It'd take a lot more work than just prettying up the graphics to fix, so I believe the game did its job. It provided us with easily the definitive way to experience this game, all while bringing it to an entirely new generation. I can never truly play through this game for the first time again, but this is about as close as I'll get. Perhaps what I find more interesting about the game itself is the implications of its release. Nintendo revealed and released this game on the same day, which they seldom do. Prime 2 and 3 are nowhere to be found as of right now, but the fact that they were willing to shadow drop Prime 1 gives me hope. It's entirely possible that those games will get the same treatment before Prime 4 releases, and I so desperately wish it to happen. Assuming this remaster is any indication of what's to come in Prime 4, Retro has already surpassed my expectations. Prime Remastered has been selling very well by all available measures. It's the #1 best-selling new Switch game right now, and it's dominating the eShop. I can confidently say that I've never been more optimistic about the future of the series, and hopefully this will be enough to justify Metroid sticking around for just a little while longer.